Hi, I'm Harin Lee, and thank you for joining my talk. Suppose we have a set of musical stimuli and we're interested in what kind of emotions people perceive. This is a rather tricky question because musical experience is subjective in nature and can largely be shaped by one's upbringing. Then the task of music emotion recognition in MIR is to capture the subtle nuances and richness that underlie our human musical experiences. Typically, data on music emotion have been collected through defined categories, where participants are asked to indicate the most relevant category. However, such tasks can be problematic because you first face the challenge of defining these categories to begin with. And second, even if you did, it would be hard to know if they can be applied to other languages. So you could take a different approach to simply allow participants to freely describe the emotions that they perceive. However, often this becomes very messy, with junk words and synonyms that make it difficult to extract meaningful data. But what if we could just create a workflow where groups of participants elicitate and self-refine through a collective brainstorm? Our approach proposes putting people into a chain, where first person comes along and describe the emotion through a word tag. Then the second person comes and see the tag provided by the first participant and rate how relevant it is. And at the same time, this participant can then also add new tags that they think is relevant. Now, third person sees the tags provided by the first and the second participant, rate them, and also flag ones that they think is bad tags that should be omitted altogether. And then after many iterations of this, what we get is essentially the high quality tags that remain, that are both rated and validated by the group. In our first experiment, we applied this method across a pool of participants from 5 different countries, and we could extract rich taxonomies of terms that describe emotions in music in different languages. Then we ran a second experiment by inviting new sets of participants, where they were asked to use the terms derived from the first experiment and to rate it across large lists of songs. And this becomes particularly powerful because we can now start to measure the relations between terms in different languages. For example, the words sad in English and triste in French would have a similar rating pattern across the songs. Whereas same word sad would have slightly different pattern with another word in French. Now imagine scaling this to all terms we extracted across the 5 languages and projecting this entire matrix into a joint embedding space. Essentially, what we get is a map that describes the associations between emotion terms across languages, which neatly clusters into dimensions of valence and arousal. Now, if we were to zoom into it, we can see that for specific terms like sad, we can identify how closely and tightly they intermingle in this concentrated space, suggesting that perception of sadness in music is somewhat cross-culturally agreed upon. At the same time, we can identify culturally niche terms like this one over here in Korean, which doesn't have equivalent descriptions in other languages. Now, using this data we collected, we used it to fine-tune an open source model, and we could achieve a substantial improvement in performance in music emotion recognition tasks, demonstrating how important these kind of data sets are for MER tasks across diverse languages. And this project was possible through incredible collaborators that I worked with. And the data set is openly available on Git. And if you have any question, you can always contact me or find me at the conference, and I look like this. Thank you very much.